I am Q, and we're watching Belizean Legends.
This is Belizean Legends, and I'm Bilal Morris. Today is a treat for you all, Belize. We have in the studio two giants of Belizean horse racing of the 1970s. The man and only CHARO, Richard Ramirez. We had him before. We're going to see that special, most dynamic interview very soon with Richard Ramirez. But joining us here in the studios is the man that Richard Ramirez trained and worked with, called Q, one of Belize's legendary jockeys. And for Belizeans, for the sake if you don't know who Q is, this is the man here, and this is Mr. Leslie. What's your first name again? Q?
Q.
The first name, your full name.
Q.
Just Q. People just know you as Q.
Yeah.
Yeah. And well, that speaks for itself, as many Belizeans will know Q, and the jockey that mounted so many of these great Belizean thoroughbreds of the time. Lady Alice, Sir Jude, we're talking about so many Ben Shanta, we're talking about so many horses, Majestic Prince. We can go on and on and on and go further back, as we heard in Richard Ramirez's interview. All these horses like the Godfather that came on the scene. I think Q, you also rode the Godfather. And with no further ado, I want to introduce you two gentlemen. First of all, Q, my brother, it's good that you came in, man. It's been long overdue. Now we're going to fill in the blanks, right? You keep saying the story's never been told. And last time we had Richard Ramirez, the one that know the CHARO, and he filled in some of the missing spaces, because Belizeans, it was not only about Finley Bishop and Ashley James, but these two awesome Belizean jockeys here can tell the story for you today. Gentlemen, again, welcome to Belizean Legends.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yes, man. But you made a trip to Belize and back, man, and
yes.
I was just waiting to try to put that feature up, but I said I need some pics, and you brought some very dynamic photographs today. I would be able to just complete your documentary feature.
Great.
But Q, I want to start with you, man. Give our listening audience a brief little history of your horse racing career. How did you start doing horse racing?
Well, I started with this old man, Johnny Stain.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was like in the neighborhood.
Look at your camera as you talk.
He was in the neighborhood, and he saw me and he asked me if I was interested. So I said yeah, and we hooked up. I had to get up like 4:30 in the morning. He wasn't living too far from my house, but I had to jump this tall cement fence, and they had a dog in the yard. Yeah, just to get to
I know that kind of thing, bro. I had to jump through the window and go box and chip away.
Yeah. And he was, at the time, he was training Ben Shanta for the Perdomas.
Yeah.
And so he always promised he was going to teach me to ride and stuff like that. But at the time, the horse was too powerful for me. I was just like 11 years old.
Wow.
You know, I was like 11. And so from there it started. I used to go to the track, watch Mayito Perdomo. He used to ride the horse and stuff like that. And I didn't last a long time with him, maybe like about a year. And then I got hooked up through my dad with Richard. And from there it was a different story. We got all these clients and all these horses. We had like Godfather, who else, Misty, who else we had together? Be For Real.
Yes,
Be For Real. Yeah. That's one of the Lightburn horses that they brought down.
Wow. So you rode like, you can say Q in your career, in your time as a jockey, when did you really start to ride professionally? I mean, at 11 years old, they put you on the horse was too powerful.
Yeah, but at that time...
Well, you're never afraid, my brother. At 11, you got on the horse, like Philly saying he used to ride that bareback.
As a matter of fact, in between Richard and John Henry Stain, I was with Bob Lane.
Oh, okay.
He was on Freetown Road. He had this little horse under the house, Namu.
Yeah.
And we used to ride from there to the track every day.
Yeah. So it came like that, where you were actually riding horses outside on the street and things like that. You used to always see guys young men on horses passing by on the streets, right?
He was on his bicycle,
Yeah.
riding right alongside me till I get to the truck and walk back and stuff like that.
Yes.
But after that, I got hooked up, as I said, with Richard.
Yeah. What were you then when you actually really started to ride professionally? Was 16, 15? What?
No.
Younger than that?
Yeah, like 12 years old. That was our age.
That was the age that you really need to start. You have to be light, right?
Finley and
yeah, you had to be really light.
Yeah,
to really,
I had like what, about 75 pounds.
Yes.
I remember I used to carry the weight bag, the lead bag, to make up the weight. And I had to take the saddle off myself.
Wow.
And at times I couldn't even hold the
Look at that, Belize.
I couldn't even hold the saddle bag. It was kind of like too heavy.
Wow.
You know, so.
Q, talk about a normal training program, because you used to see you all galloping around that stadium, man. And I used to watch, how can a human being run an animal so powerful? An animal is not crashing up into the rails. How if that animal flip over? And I used to bring like coaches over me, which is like, how are they doing that? Because the horses were moving like what? How many miles per hour the horse them minute go, remember that?
35, 40
35 or 40 miles, that's like driving a 40 mile on the freeway.
Yeah.
You dig?
But I'm from...
You weren't scared, man?
Not really, I mean... if you know you're getting on a bad horse, then like you worry if you got traits to do different stuff, you know, but...
So what goes into training the horse,
schooling
actually?
From their babies.
Yeah.
You know, you school him the right way, you teach him what to do, what not to do, and you know, you break him.
And you get them used to you too, right?
And you get them used to you. Some of them, they know your voice.
Wow.
You know, from the time they hear your voice, they start to wicker. Or like a feed time, they know it's feed time, they hear their voice, they know they're going to get fed.
Yes. Excuse me if I sound rich, like I'm a green, but you all were on the mounds, we were spectators. To be on top of that animal is no joke, right? Because I saw what it's like to break in a horse when it's wild. I saw wild horses in the van, and you have to get out of their way, right? That they're dangerous. But you to get on top of an animal like that, I remember a young man, Donovan, got kicked by a horse. Blinded him. He was a Radio Belize broadcaster. And he got kicked by the horse. I used to help a friend of mine, customer Middleton, with Black Beauty. A horse that was, after you guys, was very good. I used to see, I said, he used to say, why don't stand behind the horse? You know? And he used to go there from Mr. Middleton and clean the horse. But I say that, and I am in awe, because I just admire you all, man, because I said, how could you really sit on an animal like that with such speed and in serious competition in a horse racing? Rich, what was it like? I mean, you came up also riding as a young man, just like...
Even younger than you. I started when I was 8.
When you were 8 years old.
Because you can see my, I was too big for a jockey, but I rode till I was about 17.
When you look at the pictures that you sent me for your feature, I said, wow, Richard was, you could see the youth in you 13, at the time.
14
yes,
at that time.
man.
12.
8, your father put you on a horse. You did mention it.
You're not afraid of it's an art, and you learn the basics, the fundamentals, how to sit, how to hold your hands. And
do they fear your fear that you're scared for them?
Well, they could pick that up if you're afraid.
And so they throw you, right? They would throw you.
I mean, as he said, once you school them, as a 2-year-old, and you break them and you school them, you know, you don't have any. Every once in a while you'll get a rogue along the way, but most of them, you know, they're pretty.
His dad used to give me books on riding and stuff like that.
Wow.
And I used to study and stuff, and
because like you guys, like the American riders, right? Q and Charro, they had training, like schooling, right? But you all naturally learned that in Belize by just trial and error.
We didn't have all that.
No. You're saying, Q, you learned it from books that Richard passed to you.
Well, his dad, after every race, I'd go there, and he's in his office along with Bill Lightburn.
It's a Lightburn.
And they used to criticize what I did or stuff. And he'd bring out this book with Lester Piggott and Lafitte Pinkay and all these guys. And
so these people that was training you all did not get no kind of scientific schooling. They just had a natural knowledge like my grandfather had of what horses are all about, just natural experience.
My father had a library. He had his library with hundreds of books.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
He was the library. He was behind the scene. But you could always
self-study though, Rich.
That's where the knowledge came from.
Yeah, he self-studied it.
Yeah, he did.
He didn't go to no school, no academy. Like a lot of these jockeys over here that ride the derbies there in Kentucky, they go to school, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
They go to school.
Yeah,
man. I mean, it's amazing because, you know, the Belize's horse racing era was so fantastic and was so thrilling. To know that those jockeys, if we tell a lot of American riders, those Belizean jockeys were not trained. They naturally picked it up and they trained themselves, and they had people who rode like Richard's father, who actually had a library of books and understood how to feed the feeding of the animal.
Oh, that's
Richard Ramirez talk about that when he was here the last
part
time.
of the program,
Right,
too, the feeding program,
yeah,
the nutrition.
What used to go into
like
your
that.
feeding program in terms of your horses then, in terms of
Well, it's like a balance, you know, like you'd feed them like a balance of oats, corn,
not only grass,
vitamins, not only grass. Yeah. Well, in Belize, that's what they get. They get, what do you call it, Bahama grass, sparrow grass, and
so you have to
like
even
we didn't have no hay.
Like over here, you have different types of hay.
Yeah,
you know that.
I used to see B-Bus and I used to ask him, man, when you going to chop their wild grass and feed them out? B-Bus said, no. And used to run those horses down. You remember B-Bus, right?
He used to groom tender spot, which is one of my.
I used to like Jim said, so we go to chop their wild grass and feed their horses, but he said, no, those are special kind of grass.
That was one of my best horses at tender spot. For John Aguet.
Wow.
BUS was the groom. I won like what?
Won quite a bit of races.
17 races on that one.
Man, I remember that horse very well.
And Godfather, I won like 18 or something like that on Godfather.
Wow. 18 races?
Of course.
On that one horse. Yeah.
We're going to hold it, Richard, the legendary Richard Ramirez, and stick a pin on him here, but we're going to call you. Q, you won 18 races. In terms of your career, I know this Charro.
He was a trainer.
I was a trainer.
He was a trainer, but he didn't go before you.
I put him up.
Yeah.
So can you imagine when he was had under his belt, but you had all in all 18 wins, right? But all in all, how many races did you probably ride in your career?
Well, I can't really count, but to tell you, I won more than I lost.
You won more than you lost. So you would say you at least had about 30 races on your belt, you would say, right, Q?
More than 30.
More than 30.
Because with him and Tender Spot alone, that's
more than 30.
And then you had other horses that I rode.
The legendary Charro here talks about the fact that, you know, he rode from that time, and can you imagine the amount of races Belize that these two jockeys sitting right here with us today. I just want to say this is Belizean Legends. I am Bilal Morris, and we are talking with two legendary Belizean jockeys of the 70s, 1970s Belize. Richard Ramirez goes further than the 1970s, he goes into the 60s. Q here comes out of the 70s horse racing explosion in Belize at what we call the National Stadium of Belize. And gentlemen, again, it's a pleasure, an honor to have you two to tell the story. You know, as I write about horse racing and Belizean Legends, it was always both Richard and you, Q, that always would be saying, nah, you have not told the entire story. We hear the story of the legendary Finley Bishop, but today we are hearing from UQ as one of those top jockeys that was trained by a legend himself.
Right.
What was one of the most spectacular races that you have rode in your horse racing career that was a serious competition? I mean, you had to push that horse to the best. It was a challenge for you because
well, actually there are two races.
Yes.
One was with the Godfather when he was running against Hassan for
Hassan.
The Moose.
Yeah,
yes, I remember that.
Dad was training the horse. Yeah. And it was just two of us, and I think it was like a 7 furlong race.
Yes.
And Elias was on Hassan, and he beat me out the gate.
Yeah,
and I couldn't pass. I go inside, he come inside, I go outside, he go outside, and turned for home. He went outside just a little bit too far, and
you pushed through.
Went right through the hole. And that was it.
You know, Q and Richard Ramirez and Charro, to keep those horses in those lanes, man. How do you do that? I mean, runners run in a track athlete run in their lane, and even a track athlete will run out of their lane. Because I used to run track, like my brother.
Yeah, but your
How
lane,
you keep that horse?
your
I
lane
used to
is-
watch when going wrong there, like and the turning curves, right? I mean, it's the rain, right? You have to keep them raining, right?
Yeah.
And we see when they have a certain stupid position, they can still want to have those. And there are lots of fun who never used to use the whip. It was just naturally just pushing that horse, like Sir Jew, you see Stama, and the horse just the glide, but no whipping to go on. When there are some jockeys that you see them have to use the whip.
You don't have to. I mean,
Yeah.
you could see where you're going to accomplish your goal, and you don't really need to punish the horse more than he needs it. You know, so.
Yeah. But how you
That's
stay in
all
that
right.
lane? How you stay in your lane?
Well, it's not restricted like on the track, as you say. Your lane is restricted. You got
Yes.
markers,
Right.
but
They don't have
we
no
don't have
lanes.
no markers. So
Well, you keep that horse, I want to keep
You
them
could.
horses like 4 or 5 riders, Rich. And how you keep those horses in those lanes without crashing up in, that's an animal you're dealing with there.
That's right.
That
Well, I
was
mean,
amazing.
There's cool. I mean, with the bridle and everything, it's all in the hands.
You control them.
And
You know,
it's
all
the
in
training
the
too,
hands.
right?
Yeah, and
You
the
have to
training.
train that horse
So-
because I would see you all
So yeah.
training those horses at National Stadium, and it was every minute you see Ashley James, and you see him around and around and around that track, training that horse to stay that course.
Then once you have the lead, if you ride and you have the lead, then you have the
You
choice of where you want to
control
position your
the
horse. You position them, and just like he said, with Godfather and his son, when he was in the only chance he had was the one opening that he had there, and he just pushed through the opening, because without that he wouldn't have won.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to know when to make your moves and when and where and how.
You gotta judge your pace
Yeah.
and everything, you know. So
Yes, yes. So, gentlemen, I'm getting it here from 2 men who did it, experienced jockeys. There is nothing that international jockeys had over these 2 men, these 2 Belizean riders here, because they actually did it for years. You know, we want to go into some Belize horse racing history, and Richard Ramirez filled us in the last time with a lot of the history. Q, what are some of those missing parts that you think that needs to be told about Belizean horse racing? Talk about yourself and many of the other classic riders of the time. You're talking about Nick Hernandez, man.
Nick Hernandez.
You're talking about Stama. I can't remember his full
You
name.
also Goldburn.
Goldburn, right?
Middleton.
Right, the mighty Sir Jude. Then you had the same Lady Alice, and you have Ben Hur. You know, all these horses,
Ben
right?
Shanta.
Ben Shanta,
Yeah.
right? Ben Shanta.
But you had a lot of other horses too that used to do good.
Talk
You had
about them.
like Baby Ann for the bed run.
Yes, man. Bring back those memories, bro.
And you had old man Cattouse.
Yes.
He had a little horse Medan,
Yes.
and they used to, like one day, there were 2 races, like a 6 furlong, I think, and like a 4 furlong or something. And I was riding Medan, and I beat Baby Ann in the same race.
Same race.
And later that day, I rode Baby Ann and beat Medan in the quarter.
Richard Ramirez, you talked about that when you were here the last time.
Yeah, it was stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you had a lot of these other guys like Mr. Swift. You know, he had Sir Jude before. You know, he used to train Sir Jude.
We spoke
Before-
about
before
Mr.
Stama.
Swift, Johnny Swift, the late great Johnny Swift, one of the great heroes of racing in Belize.
Yes.
And one thing I thought when we left the last interview, when he died, I don't think this was ever done in Belize. When he died, all the owners, all the horses, all the jockeys,
when
we paraded through the streets of Belize City.
Yeah.
Man, that was
and,
historic.
and accompanied him to the cemetery, to the place where he
Wow,
arrested him.
that
Yeah,
indeed, Richard,
that's-
that actually went on.
I wanted to
Oh,
bring
that
that
was
out.
honorable, man.
Yes, that's how much he had impact he had on racing.
Racing,
Belize.
man.
So we showed him that much love when he
Yes,
passed
Mr.
away.
Ramirez,
I
you
think
talk
it was
about
us.
the innovators, man, the
Yes.
people who actually created that sport
I
and made it what it is.
I think it
today.
was even the blacksmith
Yeah.
too, no?
He was
it
the
blacksmith
one
for
and
St. Jude?
only
Yeah.
shores that we had. The
He was a
fire.
blacksmith too.
Yeah,
He
he
used
shoot
to
all the
do-
horses
yeah.
in Belize. Yeah.
Man, that was fantastic because see, these men are legends. And you two are here today to speak about them, Mr. Swift. You're talking about there was a whole body of men, Richard Ramirez's father. There was a whole body of people. the Cattouse, when you're talking about Albert Cattouse, right?
Yeah.
People don't understand that that man was not only a politician, but that man contributed so much significance to sports,
Of course.
in terms of
Yeah.
what he did for horse racing.
Right.
He had a son that was a jockey, right? What was it? Poli, which is Anthony Cattouse, right? There were so many of these awesome. But when you look at it, Q, who would you say as Q today, and Richard Ramirez is here as witness to also to make this. We don't want to run against each other.
No.
But in the whole history of horse racing in Belize, who would you two say were the best jockey of all times?
Well, I don't know.
I
If
mean,
you could-
Richard could say, Charro could say I was, Q could say he was. But in the
I think
honestly,
we probably have to go by era, no?
right, and you see, because I asked this question, Richard Ramirez and Q, because when you go and try to find Belize horse racing history, statistics, who had the best records? There is none. With all of what these men like Mr. Swift and Albert Cattouse had put into that sport, you mean you gonna wipe out one whole history of horse racing that had nothing documented? The times these horses. I mean, you could go to Santa Anita and you could look up history, data, and find out races, what, so 50 years ago,
More than
with the
that.
first Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.
The time he made, right? The time that horse made and the jockey that rode that horse. We had a fantastic, legendary, historic horse racing industry in that country, but you can't find no records. And so it's interviews like this with Richard Ramirez, Charro, and Q that we have to try to put these records straight, Belize, because I ask these questions not to run again, to see which jockey was better than which jockey, but because there is no record. Q, who was, for you as you were coming up, who impressed you the most in your line of jockeys that was there? I mean, who was the rider that empowered you? Richard Ramirez, you could have here, Charro right here. This is the man, right?
Yes.
This is the man that
That's my
actually
guy.
changed you, right?
That would,
Yeah. What was it about Charro that made you into the jockey that you did? What is it that he brought to the game?
well, he was persistent. I remember I used to go to a track and he had the whip in his hand and he hit me on his hand. Keep your hands down. Keep your
Yes,
hands
I.
down.
Yes,
And
I.
you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, man.
Like it's the little, it's detail.
Yes.
You know that.
So he had a
that
whip
does
and
that
he
stuff.
would keep
oh,
your
yeah,
hand.
he
Yeah.
hit me on my hands.
Yeah.
I got my hand up. He said,
Down.
"Drop your hands.
Yeah.
Drop, make that cross."
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and stuff like that.
See,
You know, keep your foot.
riding, you have to be one with the horse.
Yeah.
When you're one with the horse, it helps the horse to go along. Because when the horse is running, you know, maybe you didn't notice, he got 4 legs, right?
Yes.
Every time he's running, there's only one leg, one foot touching at a time.
At a time.
Yeah.
So you have to be as still as you can, and
That's
you have
science,
to move
man.
with him. Yeah, you have to move. You can't throw him off. You
Yeah,
got to
yeah.
go with him. And so the more you're one with the horse, the better it
And
is.
you got
for the
not to
horse.
be tense too up there, huh, Rich? Because if you get tense, the horse get tense.
They know.
And when you're tense,
they
it
know
holds
it.
back the horse because you can't run fast.
Yeah,
So you got to be loose, and you have to make the horse feel freed up too, right?
and move with it.
Move
Move and
with it.
stride with the horse.
Yeah.
You just gotta.
And you're
position
feeling that,
yourself.
Richard Ramirez. You're feeling that on the horse. You could
Oh,
feel
yeah.
the horse is free up. Yeah.
Remember the horse is what, like 1,200 pounds average,
Yeah.
and their leg is about this long,
Yeah.
and they go one at a time.
Yes,
There's never
man,
2
yes,
legs that
indeed.
touch the same time.
Scientific, man.
And if you make a mistake or they go in or take a bad step,
Gone.
that's it.
Wow.
So you gotta really keep your position,
Position,
your
yeah.
balance right,
Yes.
you know, stuff like
But
that. So
you ask about the jockeys, as Q said that you had different
Different
times.
eras, right?
So before me, as far as I could remember, you had this one rider. His name was, we call him. He was called Jasper, but his name is Raymond Bradley.
Raymond Bradley.
Raymond Bradley.
Yeah, let's believe. Listen
He was
up.
famous for hitting people out of the stirrups, but he was a good rider. And then you had his uncle Abel.
Yes.
Then you had before them you had a guy they called Monkey Tom
Yay.
from the barracks days. Monkey Tom.
You hear those names, Belize, okay.
Then during my time when I started, you had the great Nick Hernandez,
Yes.
a great
You
rider.
ain't personal.
He rode for the Canton stables,
Yeah.
and then I came along, and then
Yeah.
I had a little streak going.
So
So once
Ramirez, you had a in your whole history of horse racing as a jockey, How many races you would say that you rode?
Wow.
You can't compare.
No, it was well over 100.
What?
Well over 100. And I had a little winning streak, so
You rode so many races
of
with
course,
Ramirez?
we rode in Belize, we rode in Kai. It lasted from about 9 to 17. That was it, because at 17 I was way too already in the 137.
You was up on that horse from you were 9 years old.
Yeah, but before 9.
Lazy.
Before 9.
Wow.
Before 9.
Yeah.
Before 9.
And you know, those great records that both of you all made, especially, let's talk about the Godfather, because Richard Ramirez rode the Godfather too, right?
No,
You trained the Godfather.
I was a trainer.
You trained the Godfather, and Q, you rode the Godfather. Now here in Belize we have one of the most legendary horses of all times. We know we had Sir Juice, Lealis, and all of the rest, right? Those big names. But before them there was the Godfather. And here these two men, these two dynamic jockeys, Richard Ramirez trained the Godfather, and here is the jockey. Why do you all think that that was maybe the greatest horse of all time in Belizean horse?
The local horse, locally bred, yeah.
Locally bred.
Because they had a lot of imported horses that they brought in, but I said local.
Yes.
And
very important point that you said there, Rich. Local, because many of the horses, like you said in your last interview, they were imported out of Jamaica.
And the States, and the States.
Mm-hmm.
But he was, his dam, the mother was a horse by the name of Mary Beth. That's from the Canton farm, Mary Beth. And the sire was Tamashanta from Jamaica, won the Jamaica Derby.
Whoa.
Now he was the last of that strain, because he had a brother by the name of Spellbreaker. Full brother. He was a great champion too. And then before Spellbreaker, you had Silk Stockings owned by Roberto Espat. I think he has a Roses paper.
Roses paper.
Yeah. And Silk Stockings was very fast. He went to Guatemala. Ended his career in Guatemala, winning races in Guatemala. But I think Godfather was better than all of them.
And that's where Godfather come out of.
That's the same breed.
The same breed of horse.
And so I got him as a 2-year-old. He had Brown had him from Mr. Isles, Mr. Robbie Isles.
Yeah, Robbie Isles, man.
Yeah.
Father used to know.
A great owner, one of the great owners of Belize, because Mr. Isles, what I love about him, he didn't interfere in the training. He just gave whatever you needed.
Whatever you need.
He gave it to me. He said, "Charro, what you need? If they didn't have it in Belize, he made a call to the States and they flew it in next day." So we had the top of the line.
Powder feed and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, as a 2-year-old, he was getting beat by little horses that they weren't in the same class.
Yeah.
But he didn't have the training, the management. And I told Mr. Isles one day, I said, "You know what, just give me an opportunity, give me the horse."
Yeah.
I said, "Give me a chance. I think, we could do much better than she's doing." And he gave me the horse. I said, "Take it, and whatever you need, just let me know." And little by little, we started. He was he was 17 hands, but he was like maybe 200 pounds too light. And
he wasn't like real.
He hadn't developed yet. It wasn't. So we started feeding him and giving him vitamins and just working him slow and building the muscles. And man, after
walking evenings, long walks.
After about 6 months with him,
that was it.
They couldn't touch him. They couldn't stand him after that. We just kept going from one class to the next until we got to the top.
We never got beat.
Wow.
Never got beat.
He went out defeated.
Yeah.
He went down undefeated.
Until we left, because I think after we left, Basso took it over.
They took it over, yeah.
And I don't really know what happened after.
And you were the one that rode that horse the most. Was
Yeah.
the only jockey that rode that horse. After you left, there were other riders, but you were the one that rode the Godfather. The Godfather then Q had an impeccable record in terms of wins. You said the horse never lost.
Never lost when we had it. So
what was it on that horse, in your experience, that made that horse bonded with you? Here Richard Ramirez talk about the fact that you have to make the horse bond with you in a way. You were trained by one of the best right here, Charro. What was it that made that horse
well, it's like
win the way?
It's like any pet.
Mm.
They get used to you. Go there in the morning, they go at night, you feed it. They have like little sugar cubes.
Yeah, you got it used to you.
That kind of stuff.
And the training that you went into.
Well, you get up, you get in his back, and you talk to him, and you pet him, and when you're ready to work, he know what he's out there, what he's going to do.
What was his strategy around that track? to win those races? What
Well,
was
yeah,
your
he was-
what was you and Richard's strategy?
Well, it
in
depends
terms
on
of-
the type of race and who we're running against.
Wow, so you had different tricks, right?
Yeah,
there
I
were
mean-
different tricks that they used to use on the
Yeah,
Godfather
He
to
could
win the
come.
race.
He could run. He could be up front,
Go front
or
or
come from
from
all the
behind.
base.
Behind.
Yeah.
It just depends on.
He had the speed to,
You know?
Even if he gets a late start, he's gonna win.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's a condition. You have them conditioned.
Conditions.
See, the art of training is to go as fast as you can from one point to the next. That's the art. That's for you to get the horse ready.
Really.
To get him to go as fast as he can in that particular distance. So if you're going sprint, there's a different technique you use. You can't, if you're going to sprint, you can't just train him long
Like the 8
distance.
furlong is different
Yeah.
from the mile.
The what?
I mean, the riding Godfather on an 8 furlong
8
versus a 1 mile.
Well, 8
It
furlongs
is
is
a
a mile.
That's the mile.
That's a mile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check that out.
Is a
That
mile.
is the mile.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah, you're right. 8 furlongs make a mile.
That's a mile. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have the, well, you know, as I say, there's the.
But they were lower below the mile, right? Which you had like the 7 furlong. You
You
had the
had
6
7
furlongs. You had
Six,
those,
six,
right?
most of the races
So you
were
would
like
ride,
six,
you would ride him in a
average.
different way than you would ride him in the mile.
Well, the mile you got more pace.
More
Yeah,
pace.
You got more 6. You got to get out.
Yeah.
You got to get out and go
You
because
gotta
you know
get there.
It's a sprint.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
just like
shorter
just
race.
like a
yeah.
track. Yeah.
it's like with Tender Spot and Stama and Goldburn.
Goldburn. Yeah, yeah,
Was a small filly, but big as a heart,
yeah,
and she had like a club foot.
yeah.
And we never used to train him the same way we would train Godfather. We would train him in different intervals. We'd gallop here, gallop half mile, walk half mile, gallop another half mile. Or when we were going to breeze, we'd breeze like a quarter, you know, walk back to the quarter, breeze another quarter. And she won a lot of races too, as I said, like 16, 17.
You know what? You know
and
what?
we won short races too with her.
Yeah. So she was also good at the long distance.
One
as
year
well
we
as the
beat
sprint.
Comanche. Comanche was a sprinter quarter horse.
Yes.
I think Smiley had something to do with that. And all this money was flowing on the track. Oh, Comanche, Comanche.
Yeah,
And
Comanche, yes.
at
Yeah.
the end, there was no Comanche. Bishop was riding Comanche at the time also.
Yes.
And never did hit the
But
wire.
Q, then you also rode Misty. Richard, did you train Misty?
We had him for
Misty.
Mr. belonged
You
to.
talk about Misty.
Mr. She was with several stables. She was owned by the Lindos. Old man Morris Lindo, you know, that's Dean and Jimmy,
Yeah.
their father.
Dad.
Yes.
But she wasn't doing so good. So Mr. Canton, who I had a good
Canton.
relationship with him, Gilbert, not this Gilbert that is there now, his father.
Father.
And he said, Charro, let's take the filly and show them that this horse could run. I said, well, go ahead, Mr. Canton, get the horse, I'll help you.
Yeah.
But she was a very particular horse, very, very finicky.
Finicky, yeah.
So you had to know how to deal with her. So
Yeah.
I galloped her, I exercised her myself.
Yeah.
And once we never lost her.
Look at that, man. The
Never
horses
lost
could
her.
have different mannerisms. And you
Yeah.
have to.
You couldn't use the whip on her. You couldn't even show her the whip.
Yeah.
You show her the whip, she quit. She stopped.
You freeze up.
She flagged her tail like that. If you hit her with the whip, she start crying.
Yeah.
Look at that, Belize.
And one time, Ashley James rode her one time for us at the same race in
Wow.
Boone when we beat Lady Alice, and I took the whip away from him because and I remember he got in a tight spot, and then he went for the whip like that, and he had no whip. So I had to outsmart him. I had to take the whip from him. Yeah.
No,
And he just went to
don't
hand-
let Mr. see that whip.
Don't hit the whip. And he went back to the hand riding, and she just
Don't
took
let
off.
Mr. see that whip come.
She took off, and
Yeah.
we went wire to wire, you know.
Yeah.
They're smarter than you think.
Look at that.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
That's so amazing. I mean, this is Belizean Legends. I'm Bilal Morrison. We are speaking with two of the legendary Belizean jockeys. One is a jockey and one was also a jockey and a horse trainer in his time, Richard Ramirez, better known as Charro. We also have in studios the legendary Q, one of the baddest Belizean jockeys, Finley Bishop. Ashley James, watch out, you know, guys. This man. You feeling me there, man?
Oh,
Watch out, you know,
yeah.
because this Q here look like he was no playing him with a ramp attack. We need to ride a horse like
That was
Godfather
like a
and
win,
Misty
man.
and Godfather. when you hear about the history of the Godfather, never lost a race, Belize. This was the man that rode him, and this is the man here that trained that horse. That is Belizean horse racing history. No better than that you can get it. Gentlemen, you know, the Misty, and I remember Richard Ramirez told a story to you that there was a race where Misty get close up on him. And the race was between Misty and Lady Alice. I mean, when we talk about Lady Alice, Q, have you ridden Lady Alice before? No, Sir Jude, you haven't ridden those two horses before, right?
Who?
You. Lady Alice or Sir Jude. Those were mostly Stama. Goldburn.
I galloped Sir Jude one day.
Yeah.
Because something, I think, this was after Stama left.
Yes.
I think Elias was supposed to gallop the horse and he didn't show up. So I galloped the horse.
Man, Galvez was a bad little dude, man. Where is Galvez today?
He's in Houston.
He's in Houston. Yeah, Galvez was a wicked jockey.
Oh yeah.
I mean, using those terms, right? Galvez Belize was one of Belize's legendary jockeys.
When you talk about hitting a horse,
yeah,
that's the man.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you all mentioned Galvez today, gentlemen, because I remember Galvez, man, and those horses.
I hope he sees this interview.
Yeah,
give him his first name because he had several Galvez.
Elias Galvez, man. You know, we remember him
my brother-in-law, so
as Galvez, right? When you hear Bernard, you say Galvez on the mound. When you just hear Bernard again say, and Galvez on the mound, right?
Yeah.
You know that Galvez is whatever horse that is, right? And so he's Belize, one of our legendary Elias Galvez. Wherever you are, my brother, a big shout out to you. You were one of those legendary Belizean jockeys, and I hope one day we will be having you in studio here one day and talking about Belize's horse racing from your perspective like we have here today. But you know, those were incredible horses, and I know Rich and Q, I never did get to see Godfather. And maybe I did see Godfather, right? But I never was paying attention to the horse maybe as a boy going up there. You know, the horses that we used to hear much about was that Lady Alice and that Sir Jude in my time, and those were the horses that were dominating. But Richard talked about that this race that he said that the Lady Alice, Mr. beat Lady Alice before. Talk about, were you the one riding?
No, I
weren't riding.
I never did rode Misty. I don't think.
Actually, James rode her.
Actually, James rode her, right?
James rode
Yeah, we had two races. We had
talk about that race, Rich.
We had a 5 furlong, and then a mile.
A mile. Yeah.
In that time, we had the horses ran sometimes 2 races the same day. In the 5/8 of 5 furlongs, we went wire to wire with Misty.
Wow.
But then in the mile, Misty's gate didn't open.
Yeah. You went tight with Lady Alice.
Right.
With Lady Alice. Yeah.
And then in the mile, her gate didn't open. And Lady Alice had gone about 30, 40 lengths, and then finally the gate opened.
Big jump.
And so, but I stopped there. It's too late. Because the horses are really the competition. They were really close together. So 40 lengths, you could never make that up.
You catch that up.
But Ashley was still coming. I jumped in front. I don't know. He didn't run over me.
Wow.
And until
Ashley was still giving it a chance.
Yeah, he was still coming. I had to yell at him, "Hey, pull up, you know, because that's not fair."
Yeah. At the time when you were training Misty, it was actually James that was riding Misty.
Was James?
Not Q. Q had already left, I think.
No, I was still there,
there.
but sometimes the owners they want different.
They have their riders, you know.
Riders,
they have their favorite in terms of
because
how they
with
want.
him, I'm going to ride the horse. You know, it's the owners that pick.
Q, what was the monetary gain, man? You made $1 million.
There wasn't monetary.
I asked Richard Ramirez the same question last time he was here, right? That's a labor of love,
It's
man.
just what I like,
Yeah.
and my thing is winning.
Yeah.
You had some guys there that used to run these private races and stuff like that for the money and stuff. The bettors.
Yeah. Not even like a $25, man. You all did not get paid.
What was the purse? Like 250 bucks. What we would get, but I mean it's not.
At those times it was a lot of money though. Even $10, man.
Yeah.
I used to box. I used to get $25 from Henry. I go pick it up, but you don't give your cash. You make it buy something about that.
Yeah. What we did with because I had like four horses in my stable. Got Father, Lick Samba, Blonde Lady. So there's no money, no pay. You know, there's no fee. Yeah. So what we did, the owners, when the horse won, they gave us the purse.
Yeah.
And I would split it among
Nice,
all the guys that
nice,
work with me,
nice.
Q,
Yes.
and all the guys that help me around this all.
Nice.
That split evenly, everybody get a
Yeah.
piece.
Yeah.
And that's what we got, monetary, that's all we got out. But
Please listen to that.
it was all the love.
The
love.
conscience and the compassion in terms of a man that trained a horse, was a farmer jockey before he trained, and in the word, a lot of Belizeans want to know: did these jockeys get paid? You know, in those days, for them to put their lives on the line, you could have got killed on those horses. You don't have no insurance.
Insurance. We didn't know what it was.
And so, Belizeans, you see the work that these men, where we so much cherish them. And we want them to tell their stories today. These men were not getting a lot of pay, but their lives on the line. Those horses could have thrown them and they could have been killed. Many jockeys were killed in the whole history of horse races in the global horse racing arena. And we just want to give them honor, man, to say to these legendary Belizean jockeys. And they speak for all of the jockeys that have come in Belizean horse racing. Q and Charro speaks for all of the jockeys. These men were not paid. And like Richard Ramirez is saying here, Belize, they were able to take sometimes the purse, split it up, and share it evenly. So I know the love that went into the sport of horse racing that you two men were able to talk about here today. Gentlemen, in like a wrap up, we want to sort of serenade the jockey that I had loved in my time. I remember you very well, no Q. Like Ashley James, and I remember the face, right? I might even remember Ramirez when I see the picture with him holding the horse with his long hair at the time.
Yeah,
I remember seeing him. But the jockey that blew my mind and was impressive to me was Goldburn, Stama. That was an awesome rider because he rode the horse that I loved, Sir Jude, right? What can you all talk about? He's not here today, but I know that both of you can talk about the legendary Goldburn, what we call Stama. What was his first name again?
Goldburn.
Goldburn. Right?
Goldburn Middleton.
Goldburn Middleton, right? Talk about him if you can, Q. Rich, you remember more about it, right? He rode for you.
Yeah. He came a little bit after I did.
Yes.
And I remember when he first came down to National Stadium. As a matter of fact, he got my gear when I retired my head, because I was the first one to ride with a helmet. I told you that, the riding
Yes,
helmet.
you did.
And my boots and
Yes.
and everything. So I gave him all
You were
my equipment.
you start the act in terms of how to dress, in terms of
Yeah,
riding.
my brother and Fun said made a trip to Hialeah in Florida in the late 50s.
Wow.
And when my brother came back, he had went to the track. Well, of course, my father told him to do it, and he brought back. I had some kangaroo boots, skin, my whips, the whalebone, and the helmet and everything, goggles and everything.
Those pictures you have.
All that.
I see.
I think one of the pictures that I have was the helmet that he used that he gave to Goldburn, to Stama. Stama gave it to me.
See, it came trickled down.
That was before I got the real
A
caliber.
lot of love brothers had a lot of love in the sport, man.
We shared with each other, you know.
One thing I remember with Stama, there's I think only one race I rode against him, and that was with two Lightburn horses, Cash Balance and River Lark. And were you there then?
Oh,
I think you were still there.
Yeah, with the
Yeah, and it was a mile, and River Lark was like the favorite because Cash Balance was more of a sprinter. Was like stocky, shorter, but he was training River Lark too.
Yes.
And I think Lightburn, they were training Cash Balance, and they asked me to ride the horse. And the race was like this. Until the wire, Stama went on the outside, and I just kept my path, and that was it. You know.
Why do they call you Q?
Well, that's another story. That's another interview.
Because you know Richie says, call me Q. I said, I have to introduce you as your full name. He said, no, call me Q.
Well, nobody know me as anything else but Q.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, that's a buzz.
But it's from my middle name, which
Yeah.
is Kwaktemok.
Okay, check that out.
It's the name of a Mayan Indian god.
You could hear that. That's
So-
Mayan.
Yeah.
When you say that, Rich, Q, that's a Mayan name, brothers. You should be proud of that name.
Oh, I am.
Q, what?
That's why I won't give it up.
Yes. I think I even teach the name of that Mayan king in my social studies classes, you know. That's when you said the name, I remember it very well. The competition between you, Ashley James, Finley Bishop, Elias Galvez. I mean, Richard, you were training at the time when these young brothers were battling, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
What was it like?
It was great, man.
It was ferocious on that
Yeah.
track, but
And
after that track,
we couldn't wait to get up to the track, like
Yeah.
early mornings, and like go to school right after school.
yes,
Back up there, you know, do what we gotta do, you know. And but race day,
you know,
I wasn't anybody's friend.
wow, yeah, it's time to battle.
Oh yeah,
It's time to
yeah.
battle. Off the track, you guys are
Oh
good
yeah,
friends.
Oh yeah,
Best of
And
friends.
Mr. Ramirez said, best of friends,
Yeah,
right?
best of
It
friends.
was all love, but up in there when that race begins, it's all battle. One of the things that was very impressive to Q and Richard Ramirez is that you were going to school. The softball women talk about, man, we had to go home, wash up, sweep the house. We had to go to school, some of us were going to work, and go out there at the National Stadium, at MCC Girls at Red Stadium, under the lights. He said, actually had to train to get the light, to learn how to play under lights. He said, and you imagine you to come home and have to go do homework because you're in high school. It was the same thing for you as a jockey, Q.
Oh yeah, we used to,
Right.
and
But you juggle those two things. Your partner used to rail off, man.
Oh, sometimes
Going
my
hard,
dad
you're not
never used to
studying
see me for weeks. He never used to see me for weeks.
weeks.
I get up early in the morning, go
Yes.
to the track, come back home for school. By the time he left already for work,
Yes.
go to school, come home, back to the track, and come home like late in the night time or something like that, right from
And
the
still
track.
keep your
And
academics
by
tight,
the
right?
time he was still sleeping,
Wow.
get up next morning, it was just like repetitious. So
And you went right through and you graduated out of high
Yeah.
school. You didn't slacken up. You kept your grades and you did good.
well,
The student athlete.
well,
Believe that.
I don't know how good a student, but
But you were going to school, brother. You never have the bamboo keep you able to go to
oh
school.
no, oh yeah,
Yeah, you were going to
you couldn't
school.
do that stuff in those days.
And you see, that was what is so Belize is so very impressive about our Belizean legendary athletes. No matter what we talk about, football, horse racing, softball, all these great sports that Belize was so fantastic in, phenomenal, world class athletes. These brothers, the same with you too, Richard Ramirez, you were going to school at the same time.
Yes, sir.
And the student athlete, that what we're saying to those youngsters in Belize today, may they be jockeys in Boom, Orange Walk, where horse racing is now going on because it has moved from Belize City to now. These legendary Belizean jockeys here is letting you know the work that went into it. And they were not getting paid handsomely in terms of how it's supposed to be, but yet they had to juggle school and that sport together. And they became the best of what they are. And gentlemen, I want to send that to our young Belizean athletes and to say,
right. Amen.
in terms of Q, what message do you have today in terms of what would you like to say about the rise and the fall of Belizean horse racing? Why hasn't Belizean horse racing is on the par that it was when you and Charro was riding?
Well, I think I'm not there now, but from what I have seen when I go, I don't think they put as much dedication, and effort into how we do it,
Discipline.
and like discipline, as you say, into it, and they just take it as it is. They got to go through the rigorous times like what we did. Early morning training, go back in the evening, know your horse, leg work.
Ramirez, for you, why do you think that Belizean horse racing is not on the level when the great Charro was riding and training horses? I mean, you have seen the Boom and the Orange Walk races, right? What happened, Rich?
Well, as Q said, I've been away for 40 plus years,
Yeah.
so I don't want to pour water on anybody.
Yes, yes.
You know,
indeed.
but my time was counted special. But as he say, the dedication have to be there. You have to love what you do, because regardless if you have a champion horse or you have one that never won a race, you still have to put the same work into it. It's no difference. You have to do the same thing. It costs you the same amount of money, the same time, the same love, dedication. You have to love what you do.
But shouldn't it be on a higher level now to Ramirez? You go to Santa Anita, you and Q, you see the level. I mean, we talk about the gate that is still look like it's the same old gate.
You brought up a good thing that I didn't mention the last time, and this is for our listeners.
Yes, I wanted you to put that part.
I'm really happy that I'm here with Q, and you know we have great memories with Q. Q was a fantastic rider. He was a little different from Ashley and Finley. He was a little more quieter still, but he was able to get the best out of the horses. And that's what riding is all about, to get the best out of the horse. I think Finley was a little more aggressive.
Yeah.
He was a rough rider.
You worked with all two of them. Those.
Well, I had a little something to do with them.
Talking about,
but I had more to do with Q because I really taught him the fundamentals.
Right.
But he went on to do great things. I mean, he won. But we're talking about the gate.
Yeah.
Their time, they had the starting gate, which you know, the horses, they all in line and they locked them until the gate opened, so they all come out at the same time.
Yes.
Now, I mean, there's a trick to it. If you have the art of getting your horse out the gate quicker, then you have an edge.
Yeah.
In my time, we didn't have no starting gate. We had what they call the flag start.
Wow.
And one of Mr. Hugh Mop used to live right in front of the tongue clock on Barracks Road.
Yeah.
He was the official starter. Any track you went, Hugh Mop. And you know what? That's a task to get 5, 7, 8 horses together. To line them up together.
Indeed.
But the trick of it, there was a trick to it. You always try to circle around the horses to the back, and then once you circle them, you come flying from the back.
Yeah.
And once you get up to, you get up to where the others are standing, and you're already galloping. So when you get up to them and he dropped the flag, you already beat them 5 or 6 lengths. And he used to have some choice words for me, or for us, you know, because he gets frustrated trying to bring them all together. And then you circling, and he used to say some words to me. You little Ramirez, you get that, you know what, bring that, you know, I can't repeat it.
No.
But there's an art, so if you get a fly start, you're already 6 lengths in front. And maybe that might be enough to win. They can't catch you after that, you know. So it was an art, but it was good.
Look at that! That's the Belize. You hear that? That was the old-fashioned way of doing it. Can you imagine what went into that? No starting gate. And I'm glad that you mentioned that.
My dad told me he always told me this, you know, because I was good at it. He always told me if you have 6 horses in a race, and the starter get 4 or 5 more or less together, he said he gonna let them go. It's impossible to get all of them. So he said if you see you get more or less 4 or 5 of them all together, say go fly, go on. And sometimes they will pull you back, but sometimes you bring the flag down. Once the flag go down, it's official. The race is on.
That's right.
So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yes, man. I'm glad that you mentioned that too, because Belizean horse racing enthusiasts and sporting enthusiasts need to understand that before there was a starting gate that we saw in the 1970s, which when Ramirez is right here making it clear that there never used to be no starting gate Belize. That these, you know, just to show you the humble beginnings of Belizean horse racing, Belize, the humble beginnings of where it came from and where it is today. And we're glad that Ramirez was able to come in with you today, Charro. I mean with Q and mention that. Any final words, Q?
Well, to all my friends, my buddies, Finley, Ashley, Elias, I just want to say it was good knowing you guys, riding with you guys, and we're all still friends, especially Finley. We're always in touch.
And you said Finley might be coming into town one day soon, huh?
No, I think the trip was cancelled.
The trip was cancelled. Yeah. Oh man, that would have been
the
great.
trip was cancelled.
Any final words? Any final words, Rich?
It's good to be here with you and with you, Bill, for giving us this platform to tell our story, because you know it was a great time for us. It was a great time for me, and as I said earlier, some of the names we may have forgotten, but it doesn't mean that they weren't
That you don't
important.
really,
Yes.
They all, everybody that
Ramirez covered a lot. Charro covered a lot,
You know.
so he filled in and with what you came in today.
Probably still have a lot more that we haven't mentioned.
Yeah,
but, you know,
yeah.
there's still a lot of guys.
Still a lot of guys out there, right? You know, and I really wanted to serenade and celebrate them. When we talk about, just before we close off though, I want to call the names of all those top Belizean jockeys, and Q and Charro, you helped me with it. We had Richard Ramirez, right? And Richard Ramirez could talk about jockeys before his time, right?
Nick Hernandez,
Nick Hernandez,
Raymond Bradley,
Raymond
Jasper,
Bradley, Jasper,
Abel,
Abel,
Monkey Tom,
Monkey Tom,
yeah,
right? Those were before you.
Common Pin.
Common Pin.
That's Lennon, yeah, that's Lennon.
Yes,
Common
Ramirez.
Pin,
Let's
Lennon.
call their
Common
names,
Pin.
man, and celebrate
Pin.
them. Common Pin.
Common Pin.
Anybody else
What
that you
about
remember?
Dougie used to ride?
Well, yeah, Dougie was a
You want to
exercise
mention
rider.
those riders
Exercise
that
rider,
before
yeah.
Rich, that
Yeah.
came before Charro, right? That
No,
he's
he was in
mentioning
Charro's
there.
time,
Those were
yeah.
around your time too.
Right.
That was riding with you. Please, Q, your time. It was Q. Finley Bishop,
Ashley James.
Ashley James, Goldburn, Middleton, which is known as Stama,
Paddy.
Paddy,
That's John King.
John King
John
Jr.
King.
Jr.
Call your names, Q.
Yeah,
Lindo was a rider too, right?
he was, I think he was
Yeah.
like coming out, him and
Yeah.
Maito.
Pick up yourself, Lindo, to the man card.
Him and Maito, Perdomo, and
Yeah.
Anthony Cattouse.
Anthony
Albert
Cattouse.
Cattouse.
Yes.
They were like on their way out.
Yeah, because we don't want to miss nobody, Q. Nobody.
You had
Galvez.
Elias Galvez.
Galvez. Careful, get
Yeah.
him.
You had Rudy Hernandez.
Rudy
Remember,
Hernandez.
welcome,
Guy.
sir.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, man.
Yeah, welcome, sir.
Big up Rudy Hernandez.
Mr.
Welcome,
Phillip, Mr.
sir.
Phillip used- I
Yes.
remember I rode a horse once,
Yes.
and it was at 3/4,
Welcome, sir.
and the horse went down with me right on the turn.
Yeah.
Like it was too close to the turn, and he had the outside position,
Wow.
you know, and the horse just
See that it, like it
Cut
says,
from
it's
under
happened
and-
and how much you guys risk your lives.
never
in
did
terms
get
of
hurt,
those
but the
things.
horse just keep pushing me, you know,
Kick it
like
out.
into the rail.
Into the
but
rail. Keep them out of that
wasn't-
rail.
Yeah.
And those blinders, what was those for?
Well,
To keep them focused, keep them running straight,
Yeah,
so they don't gaze.
they don't. Yeah,
Check it out.
they don't like duck or anything. It's just you know.
Anybody else we missing, Q and Charro? And yeah, let's celebrate these great Belizean legendary jockeys, man, of all times. And you two are here
Michael
today.
Cattouse.
Michael Cattouse, right?
He was
Yes, man.
in the time with.
And actually James also had a little brother that rode too.
Ray's son?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He was on his way out with like
Yeah.
Johnny Lindo
John
and those
Lindo,
guys.
yes. Actually, James had a young brother that rode to like him. His younger brother was
Mark.
My time
Yeah.
you had Udell, I think Udell Bennett, Udell,
Bennett.
You there?
and you had Bobby Stevens.
Bobby Stevens.
Bobby
yes,
Stevens, yeah.
yes.
And then you had Billy. I don't remember his last name, Billy. Yeah. And then we don't want to forget, as he mentioned, Johnny Stain that came.
Johnny Stain.
He was living in the States,
yeah.
working at the big tracks, and then he came back to Belize, and he brought a lot of information that helped us at that time. Yeah. Yeah. So we don't want to forget him either.
Yes, and all those people who contributed to horse racing, to Ramirez and Q.
The owners, the sponsors.
Sponsors like Mr. Swift.
Well, he was a
Albert
trainer.
Cattouse was a trainer, right?
But
Lindo's,
you had the Cantons, the Lightburns,
Yes.
the Ben Stewarts,
Yes.
Joe Ramirez, my dad.
Yes.
These are the
Yeah.
up from the Kaya, Johnny Robinson,
Johnny
Robertson.
Espak.
Yes.
Yeah, Bobby
Robbie
Espa, Robbie Isles.
Robbie Isles.
He was like
Those are the people who made Belize horse
Kote
racing.
Mosiah.
Kote Mosiah.
Bedran. Bedran brothers
Yes,
from Kaya.
man. Let's call
Kenny
their names.
Bedran.
Yeah, some of them have passed
Khalil
away.
Bedran.
Yes,
Then
yes.
Pat Shaw, the Banana Bank. Later
Shaw,
Pat Shaw
Shaw.
from Banana Bank.
Yeah.
She brought
Yeah.
to the races, always brought
She always-
5 or 6
yeah,
horses.
Good. She was
Yeah.
a good person.
Yeah.
Wow.
Great supporter.
Yeah.
Pat Shaw.
Yes, we want to
Yeah.
make sure we honor them. And in this dynamic interview today with Richard Ramirez, Charro, and Q, the outstanding legendary Belizean jockey Belize, we have celebrated our Belizean horse racing period of the 1960s and 70s. And we hope that we have not missed anyone and have not missed any of the stories. I mean, these two men can go on and on and tell about so many stories, but we don't have the time for it. Because you the people don't like to watch nothing with too long. So we're gonna end it here. We're gonna say, Q, my brother, it was a pleasure for
Nice
you to
being
come on
here,
Belizean Legends, man, and the legendary one, Richard Ramirez, better known as Charro,
The honor
for
is
you
mine.
to come in, man, and talk
Honor
about
is
this. Without you two, we would have never known about the great Belizean pastime they call horse racing at the National Stadium. This is Belizean Legends, and I'm Bilal Morris.